friends. Welcome to Story Behind Podcast. This is the show for people who love hearing a good story and who believe the world could use more positivity. We're the team behind GodUpdates and GodTube, and we hope these weekly short stories will brighten your day.
After enduring absolute horror and spending years apart, these 5 siblings are finally back together. Written by Hallie Wells, read by Julie Provost. 5 siblings, having lived through horrible situations and heartbreaking separations, have been reunited, adopted, and are living and thriving with the Moffitts in Charlotte, North Carolina. Jared Moffitt and his wife Kayla became a couple in 7th grade. She was a cheerleader and he was a band nerd. Kayla asked Jared if he liked her via a note with a yes and no choice, like the Crushing Kids and George Strait's 1995 hit, Check Yes or No. The two grew up in a one-stoplight town in Arkansas and married in 2011. They worked as youth pastors for approximately a decade before deciding to foster and adopt. And while they imagined bringing only 1 or 2 children into their home, God had much bigger plans for this very special couple. Jared and Kayla adopted 5 siblings 4 years ago, and life has never been the same. Lachey, Arya, Willow, Mia, and Drew, 4 girls and 1 boy, are 17, 13, 10, 7, and 6, respectively. Removed from their biological home when their mother could not care for them, the siblings lived apart for 3 years. That was perhaps one of the most challenging things about being in foster care, particularly for Lachey, who had become a mother figure for the younger children. Lachey shared the horror of losing her baby brother. She was only 7 and recalls doing CPR in an effort to save him. That's when I started becoming a parent for them. I was 7 years old, making bottles. We didn't have baby milk. I mixed it with water, she told Ken S5 News. The children remained in the home for 2 more years before social services removed them after another sibling was exposed to crystal meth and nearly died. Though initially placed in a foster home together, Lachey continued to provide a lot of caregiving to her siblings, and tragically she was sexually abused by the foster parents' son. She was 12 at the time. This time, all 5 were sent to different homes. Lachey said, "It was so hard for me. I was all they knew. Our biological mom wasn't around, so I was their mom. I thought I lost my children." It was 3 years before Lachey and her siblings met Jared and Kayla. Though Kayla and Jared had planned on fostering just 2, the couple decided they couldn't split them up after being shown a sibling group of 5 and seeing how close the kids appeared in photos. The children were scheduled to move in just as Kayla's father died from COVID at 55 years old. Now, the support system they counted on was lost, and they were hurting. As Kayla began her parenting journey from a state of brokenness, she and Jared recognized that the children had experienced far more than their share of trauma. Several of the children had been treated for mental health diagnoses like bipolar disorder, RAD, childhood schizophrenia, and more. Kayla educated herself on how to best support her children and build healthy family relationships. She became a trust-based relational intervention practitioner, TBRI, which she says has made all the difference. Kayla shared on the Adopt You Kids blog, "I have learned so much about trauma and attachment and about how much we must extend grace to one another. For one of our daughters, we were her 31st home. That meant we were her 31st set of caretakers, her 31st room, her 31st set of rules and morals and way to live. How do you encourage a child to trust you and learn to love you when you've been told goodbye 30 times before?" Jared said the trauma they've endured, it doesn't just go away. It manifests in unique ways every single day. From our youngest who's 6 now, and our oldest who's 17, that trauma from their past life shows up. And when it shows up, we're their parents. It's our job to take care of them. Despite the challenges, though, the Moffitt family of 7 is doing well and thriving. In addition to learning how best to care for their children and loving them every single day, Jared and Kayla are sensitive to the cultural needs of their African-American children. Recognizing that their hometown in Arkansas was very white and lacked the diversity and opportunity for the children to interact with people with black and brown skin, they searched for a community that would offer their family more diversity. They settled in Charlotte, and that move has contributed to the healing and happiness of the family too. Charlotte has become the family's true home. And regarding her broad, Kayla said, "You hear that kids are resilient. That's very true for ours. We have 5 of the most joyful babies I've ever met. I don't know how you can go through what they went through and still smile, but they do. While Mom and Dad are still figuring it out as they go, they do it with love. Just like they didn't know how to be together, live in a house, we didn't know how to be parents, and becoming parents to 5 overnight proved to be challenging," Kayla said. But we constantly give grace, have conversations about all the hard things, the scary things, cheer each other on, and forgive. Every day is a new day. Religion that God our Father accepts as pure and faultless is this: to look after orphans and widows in their distress, and to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. James 1:27. Community shows outpouring of love after 7-year-old's horrible tragedy. Written by Adam Staten, read by Julie Provost. A community came together with an outpouring of love for a 7-year-old girl who had experienced a horrible tragedy. Fortunately, we will all experience awful situations and circumstances that cause extreme grief, pain, and sorrow. Sadly, these moments are inevitable and inescapable in this life. Many have likely already gone through something similar and are intimately familiar with the hurt and heartache associated with those moments. It's essential to have a group of people around you to help you through and be a shoulder to cry on when those moments arrive. The only thing worse than experiencing and going through deep, intense emotional pain is doing it while feeling all alone. For that reason, a community's response to a 7-year-old girl is so touching and moving. Emery Johnson, 7 years old, went through what is likely the worst thing a child can experience. She woke up one morning to learn that her mother had passed away. To make matters worse, when Emery visited her mother's burial site, her mother did not have a gravestone. So Emery set out to fix that and started a lemonade stand to raise money to buy her mom a gravestone. At first, the young woman did not tell anyone what the proceeds were going towards. She just started selling cups of that delicious cold beverage for $1 a piece. But word about Emery's sweet and touching efforts quickly got out and people responded in a big way. The most that we got for one cup of lemonade was $300, Emery said. According to the clip posted on YouTube, Emery raised $15,000 in lemonade sales. However, she can keep all that money and put it in savings because a local monument company has generously and lovingly agreed to donate a gravestone. What a sad but beautiful story of a community coming together to show a little girl that she is loved and that other people do care. 1 John 4:8. He who has no love has no knowledge of God, because God is love.
Thank you so much for listening to Story Behind Podcast. We're really glad you joined us for this week's story. To see photos and videos that may have been referenced in this episode, check out the links in the show notes. And if you enjoyed what you heard today, subscribe to our podcast, and please tell a friend about us. We'd also love it if you'd rate us and leave us a review. It really does help more people find us. Story Behind is a Salem Web Network production.